we have many times been covering James Gunn's Superman 2025. It's pending release. We are literally 2 months away. July 14th. We're essentially 2 months away. On Wednesday, we're getting a trailer. We're getting a trailer on Wednesday, which I will react to in one way, shape, or form on Wednesday. But before that, a little bit of news dropped this afternoon. I actually sent Dermy into a rage spiral with this. Okay. All right. Let me ask you. Let me ask this, Samuel. You have Superman knowledge. It's fair to say, right?
Some, sure.
But this is the most basic knowledge, which leads to understanding. Where did Clark Kent grow up, Sam? Just so you know.
Grew up in Smallville, Kansas.
Exactly. Thank you. Grew up in Smallville, Kansas. And he grew up on what?
The Kent farm.
The Kent farm. He's a farm boy where he learned American values. Mom, America, and apple pie. Okay? He learned that kind of stuff. Raised by Jonathan Kent to believe in certain ideals about America on a farm where you worked for a living, you made things work, and that's what makes Superman Superman, because Clark grew up as a middle America human being,
relatable,
and he learned values, right? Fair to say. Well, James, go ahead.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, no, it's fair to say that that his upbringing definitely had a lot to do with who he became later in life. Especially when you start to when they started bringing other Kryptonians in, and they were nothing like him. I mean, they were cold, they were calculating, they were arrogant. Even Supergirl in later iterations was very much like that because she grew up on Krypton,
and then got stuck in the Phantom Zone for a while.
Yeah.
All right, so that's Clark Kent. James Gunn is changing that. Are you ready? And this is confirmed. This is from the mouth of Babes himself, James Gunn. James Gunn confirms Trailer Park Superman as fans question direction of new DC universe.
Fucking Christ!
Fuck
All
this
right,
movie.
so he's taking the Gods and Monsters route. Then,
all right. So let's read this. Let's leave here say, and then I open it to you guys. A recent revelation from James Gunn as fans talking about the Trailer Park Superman. The surprises surrounding James Gunn's Superman keep piling up, and they're not all about flight strength or truth and justice and the American way. First came the leaked plot about mutant monkeys and Twitter trolls. Now, and don't forget super shit. Don't forget super shit. And now, James Gunn himself has confirmed that his version of Superman, Clark Kent, grew up in a trailer. Yes, the Kent family farm, a long-standing visual symbol of humble American heartland values, is being swapped out for a converted double wide. What started the fan question during DC Studios Showcase? James Gunn was asked, James Gunn, can you settle this debate for the DC Studios Showcase? Is Superman poor? I always thought he was middle class, but at Koi Jandrew and Tyler Coates are saying I'm bugging. James Gunn, our house in Superman is a converted double-wide trailer. I wanted his upgrading to reflect more closely the Missouri farmers I was raised around.
That was my first question. Where the fuck did James Gunn grow up? This is self-insert shit.
God damn, he's such a freaking goddamn homo.
All right. Sam, I'll ask you first. So, Kansas, and like I said, I encourage everybody to go watch Dermy's video tomorrow, or when you're watching this, if it's already out. Dermy is a Kansan, and he has some very choice words on why this is wrong, and how a Missourian is not a Kansan, and it's different. Somewhat different values and farms. So, but
they're different cultures.
Yes,
the two states are right next to each other. They're very fucking different. You know, I've been through both of them multiple times, many times, in fact, and you can actually really see the difference when you drive through Kansas City, because one side of Kansas City is not like the other side of Kansas City.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
this is a big deal, though, isn't it? This is a huge deal. You're taking away one of the core character aspects of Clark Kent. And Drew, like they're saying, this is James Gunn self-inserting yet again.
Yep, it is. And I saw this coming, a while. You already know what James Gunn you're getting, your Guardians of the Galaxy, your Misfits, your Suicide Squad, the Peacemaker. It's fine that with those characters you can, scribble outside the lines and stuff like that. With Superman, it's very, you got to stay on the highway here.
Mhm.
Like you got to be the classics, and you can tweak some stuff minorly, but the origin story, what he's doing, putting on boots when whatever Brainiac or whatever is in the window behind you, like
Space alien eyeball.
or whatever it is, or gonna be, or whatever the deal is. No, this is ridiculous. And I already saw this coming when they announced he was attached to this, or no, when he was running, gonna be running this whole new arc, I guess, for DC.
Mhm.
So we'll see how long it lasts. I'm putting this one as like I'm putting on this one how good I expect Thunderbolts will be. Like it's just
All right, Devil. Let me ask you this, and then you say in addition to what I'm going to ask you. But I mean, Devil, we've been saying this for weeks. Every time we turn around, another one of these stories comes up. Last time we talked about this with the internet monkey trolls and this and that, it's James Gunn putting his own personal views into it about how he feels about internet trolls and him. And here it is again. This is my background.
Oh yeah,
Doing it again.
yeah. He is very conceited in the way he makes movies. It's all about him. He doesn't think about the fans. He thinks about what he likes and what he wants, and it's all about
Yes.
James Gunn. He's a freaking prick. We kind of saw like a hint of this when they showed the very first teaser trailer, and we saw Pa Kent was obese, bald-headed dude instead of what traditionally he looked like. It makes sense now. They're trying, he's trying to make him into a trailer park dude. It just is so sad because I'm sure it's not just the fact that it was his childhood, what he remembers from childhood, but probably also he was trying to insert that strong value middle America kind of farm people are also, Trump supporting racist assholes who, can't be trusted. I'm sure there was some of that in there too. It's so bad. Kind of a betrayal of what the character is. That's so key
Perfect
to
word.
Superman.
Perfect word.
So key to Superman. That taking it away, just like I said, it literally took me from I might see this movie. We'll see how people feel about it. If there's a lot of people like it, maybe I would. To now, there's no way in hell I'm watching this. Fuck him.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
Sam, you've got more thoughts. I can feel them.
Oh, I hate this so much. Look, humble beginnings I don't have an issue with, right? A farm can be humble, right? The fact that there were only two grown men working that fucking farm, occasionally hiring I mean, that essentially says to me that the Kents were mostly breaking even every year, right? They didn't have a lot of money. They're already, not middle class if you look at it economically from the time frames.
Well, they're a
and
small
all that
business
stuff.
owner, and
Right.
even more so a farmer, where you go by seasons and stuff like that.
Right.
So,
And anybody who's spent any time around like farm communities will tell you that most of those guys don't have cash on hand. They're not wealthy people.
no, you're taking
know?
loans out for these tractors and stuff.
So like you don't have to set it in a trailer park to indicate that they didn't have money. You didn't have to
times
say
are tough.
they were already humble people, right? Humble church-going people who just wanted to, have a kid and raise him to be a good person, which they did, by the way, which is something that they tend to leave out. Did you guys ever read Red Sun?
I know the story. I know
I know the story.
Yeah.
Okay, so Red Sun has this really interesting premise that if you give him a different backstory, does that change who he is at his core? And ultimately, the conclusion of that story was that no, it does not. He is who he is. His having Ma and Pa Kent did send him down certain paths, before he did in Red Sun, because he was found in a Ukrainian commune under the Soviet regime in that book. And that's where he was raised up under Stalin and all that. But it never really changed the core of who he was. It did change the course of some of his actions. Right. So it was just a really interesting nature versus nurture argument. And if that's what he's thinking about doing, it seems like he's taken this from the Gods and Monsters storyline, where Superman was raised by illegal Mexican immigrants.
And to answer the question, I see, the Kent farm was the Kent farm. They owned the Kent farm. That was their land. Now, whether or not it was mortgaged, It depends on the era, depends on the writing, depends on the story. But Sam is right. You could very easily depict the Kent farm being struggling. Hell, go look at the show Smallville. It was a struggling farm when
Amazing.
Jonathan
Mhm.
Kent died in that one. Martha Kent was going to struggle. Then she took over his political seat that he had won, and that's how she found it. But there is always the question of, is the Kent farm safe? Now, of course, you get far enough into the timeline of Superman, he could just take a piece of coal and crush it into a diamond and then sell that and give money to mom and pa. But that's not his
That's-
style anyway.
That's not the
what he would do.
values.
I know
That-
exactly.
And Paul never would have accepted that either.
Exactly. That's my point.
He never would
Yeah,
have accepted that because
He
it
could
wasn't
do
earned.
that, but it wouldn't work. Is the
Going back to
thing.
Smallville, he
Yeah.
could just go, when he's on the Red Kryptonite, he could go and take out money out of the ATMs or rob a bank or whatever it is. But that's
Mhm.
not who he is. That's it goes against the values. It's too easy. It's taking the easy route. It's jumping in front of everybody else. So yeah. But
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know James Gunn too well, but I don't think he shares those same values. So
Oh, he
how can
doesn't.
yeah,
He
that's what
doesn't.
I'm getting
He
at.
doesn't.
So
Yeah.
how can you create something? I don't know too much about Richard Donner, but he was able to, recreate, the best things about Superman all those decades later in the movie. And same with Smallville.
Yeah.
Similar values. So
Yeah.
you can't say it's like, oh, it's a different time. No,
Mhm.
it lasted from whatever 1939 all the way to when Smallville was.
Right,
And
and,
then
and you're talking about a time period that was only 10 years after the stock market crash. Nobody had money. Everybody was poor. This was during the end of the Great Depression when these comics started up, right? Right
point.
before the
Yep.
1940s.
Yeah.
Yep. Great Depression, World War I, World War II. Yeah.
In the end, this is what we always believed it was going to turn into. Drew pointed it out, Devil pointed it out, Sam's pointed it out as well. I have been saying this since the beginning. Well, I changed my tune when James Gunn first came out. I said James Gunn might be the right guy to run the studio because he's a creative, he's a director, he's a writer. He knows how the game works. He knows when to get in the way and when not to. But as soon as he said, I'm writing the Superman script, I said, whoa, are you the right guy? And then they fired Henry Cavill, and I said, whoa, now you're not earning cred with me anymore. And then we left him alone. He said, I'm working on it during COVID, guys, don't worry. And then it comes out what he's doing with it, and we've gotten everything we've gotten has been one red flag after another. Bloated cast, a story that doesn't seem to make sense. The bloated cast becoming an ensemble cast. Not just a bloated cast, a lot of people there. They've turned a Superman story into an ensemble story. Villains whose motives are going to be cheesy and lame. We've seen the James Gunn humor stooped in there. He decides to, as we keep saying, insert himself. It's a James Gunn movie. It's his version of Crypto, which isn't even a real dog. It's a CGI dog. It's his humor in the robots. It's his idea of how Superman should be at the core. Growing up on a Missouri farm, well, he'll be in Kansas, but it'll be a Missouri farm in Kansas now, in a double wide, with Pa Kent being fat, overweight, likely dying of cancer or diabetes, got the sugar foot, instead of a heart attack. The thing that when in whatever timeline is when Jonathan Kent dies, when
Tornado.
he dies of
Tornado.
well, no, we don't.
Holy
Oh,
shit, that was
you
dumb.
bring that? Okay, you bring up Zack Snyder, Drew. You know you've done wrong when at the core, Zack Snyder did Kansas Clark better than you.
This is devolving from Snyderverse.
Yeah, that's how you know
Yeah.
we are in a danger zone. When you could say Zack Snyder, until the tornado, did a better Clark Kent in Kansas than you did. We've got a
And-
problem.
Did it better,
Yeah,
Clark. He
and-
did not. His Jonathan wasn't good.
I just said in Kansas.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we all hated what Snyder did because that was also a kind of betrayal to the character. His father dying of a heart attack showed the difference between man and what he was. Superman is essentially a god of like figure. And here is his father, his adopted father, obviously, but dying of a heart attack, showing that he is nothing but a man, just a man. And it's this differential between the two. Taking it and having him killed by the storm. I hated that idea. When I first saw that, I thought that's the stupidest thing ever, because what you're taking away that aspect of it.
Yeah,
That he sees the
that's
frailty
important.
of his father.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it'd be
And-
nice to have a Superman that could, like, whatever he can do, he can't save everybody.
And that's
He
the
can't
point.
save.
That is
I'm
Yeah,
trying to
and
reiterate
that's a
this.
fundamental lesson that
Yeah.
he has to learn. It informs everything he does after that. It's sort of like the great power, great responsibility, death of
Mhm.
Uncle Ben. If those two things
Exactly.
do not occur, you do not get Spider-Man.
Point is, but Drew's absolutely right. This thing is, and Devil's right when he says it too, this is built on the fact that it has to be something that is out of his control to form his core character. James Gunn doesn't care about forming his core character. He cares about putting his life experiences, his beliefs into the story, because it's about James Gunn. It's not about Clark Kent. It's not about the fans. It's like what you guys said when we started this conversation. It's about what James Gunn wants. It's never about anybody but James Gunn. And James Gunn wants this ensemble Superman movie with villains that are going to be all over the place, with a Clark Kent who looks like this. We don't want this. He wants him being harassed by trolls on the sidewalk on the internet, because that's how James Gunn sees the fans. That's how he sees the world that doesn't agree with him.
That just
Which
seems
means
like
he
the,
sees himself as the man in the blue suit here.
Yes,
That is
Yeah, that
James
looks like
Gunn. That's not
PBS.
Superman.
yes,
Yeah.
you're right. I think
the,
you're right.
the atmosphere, just how, everything's taken in. It's just
The arrogance, the
like Gary
hubris,
talks
it's
about,
just-
just like what is it? Just ripping apart the superhero, or I can't remember the
Deconstruction.
name.
Deconstruction,
Deconstruction, yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, and it's just,
Deconstruction,
we're still
sorry.
doing it. Like,
Well-
it's when is this going to be over? Of just like, taking them
It's
down. a
about
notch?
to be over, Drew, because this movie, this is just, as I said, we are less than 48 hours away from the final trailer, like the final trailer. It's finally going to be a trailer with dialogue in it. Most likely, we're going to get a little bit of the story, and we're going to see what is coming out of James Gunn. Now, is there a chance he could turn it all around with the trailer? Perhaps. I don't have faith. We have had conversations for weeks. Do we have faith in James Gunn after all this? No, I do not have faith.
I mean,
This is
I was
another-
not a fan of Guardians 3.
I didn't even watch it. I
That
didn't
came
even watch it.
later.
Okay.
It had moments, but it was just seemed manufactured. It was just like a holdover. And so I'm not. He was good for certain things, but no more.
I like
And I've
Slither.
heard the name.
That's older stuff, Sam. That's older stuff.
I am aware.
Yeah.
I like
James-
Slither. I like Trauma. He should have
James
stayed
Gunn,
there.
James Gunn is good in his niche world. You try and make him mainstream, and it doesn't work, because in the niche world, he can cater to himself, and the cultishness of what people like about him will support him and his beliefs. You try to mainstream yourself into something that cannot be converted to your weirdness, you will lose. And this is where he's going to lose. This movie's going to come out. This thing probably costs easily $250 minimum. There's no way this
Absolutely.
thing costs anything under $250. And then on top of that, marketing, everything, another $100 million. This thing's going to need probably somewhere between $600 and $750 to break even. And if it crashes and burns and only makes around 450 to 500, the DCU is done. And here's the thing, it's still going to probably do better than Baby Steps. It'll do better than Baby Steps. And dinosaurs will win the day. You know what? I am perfectly happy living right here. I'm perfectly happy living right here with this Superman, this Batman, that Wonder Woman, that Green Lantern, that Flash, that Hawk Girl, that Martian Manhunter. I'm perfectly happy living there because they never disappoint me. Thanks for watching, everyone. If you enjoyed the video, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel. Check out my gaming channel at Renaissance Nerd Arcade, and follow me on X Twitter under @TheRedNerd. Thanks again for watching. Take it easy.